So I thought I'd show you just a very simple way of editing pictures that are mostly texture. I always use Instagram, so I'm going to edit this photograph. It's a photograph I took of a puddle, and I really like the textures when I was out there looking at the puddle. I kind of like the colours, but often the camera doesn't take the photo that you feel. It takes the composition, takes what it is, but it doesn't take the feeling. So the editing for me is about the feeling of a picture. So I go to next, and I have my favourite filters all top end. So my favourites are Mayfair, Rise, Gingham and Hudson, and as you probably know, you can move filters around, so I sort of have those in the order that I go to them. All the others I kind of fiddle around. Sometimes I move them, maybe have that, but I pick and choose, I dip into them. So like I said, these are my go-to filters, so I have a look at all of them, what I sort of like out of them. And Rise and Mayfair often bring out warmth. Gingham tends to bleach it, and Hudson brings out blues. I quite like this, what Hudson's doing to this image, because it's separating the water and the texture in quite a specific way. So I'm going to keep it at 100% just for now. I'll probably alter it in a bit. Go back to edit. I always tried the Lux as well, just to see what it does. So we can go all the way down, all the way up. I don't like over filtering, over saturating. I just like kind of bringing, like I said, the feeling of it out. So I'm going to go about there with that. I also always try and see what happens with the brightness. But for texture pictures in particular, I always go to structure, because that brings all sorts out. Texture pictures for me, on the whole, aren't about softness, they're about bringing out the texture, and structure is brilliant for that. I then would go to saturation. Now, I'm not as keen on things being yellow for this picture. Like, I've used Hudson to bring out the blues. If I take that right down, it makes it really blue. So I might just put a little bit of saturation in there, then go to warmth, and then take it down so it still keeps it bluish. Then I go to sharpen. Sharpen is brilliant at picking details out. At this point I'm going to go back to filter, just have a play with the Hudson. See, there is something I do want to soften about the image slightly, so I'm going to play with the shadows, because I like this area of the photo being slightly mysterious and these bits popping out. I'm going to go back to saturation. For me, editing is all about playing around and fiddling. There's no formula for me. It's just seeing what the image itself demands. And then at the end I always tend to go to vignette, because it just highlights the centre of the picture often. I'll just play around with highlights, see what that does. I quite like that. And I'm going to go back to structure again, just because I have in my head this is a picture of texture. Do that. So then I go to next. And I always put it onto airplane mode so that I can save the image, share, and it will say, and that's how I remove it. And there it is, saved on my camera roll. And I'll just show you this image as well. This is unedited, but I'll go straight to Lux for this because I want to really bring out the brightness and the colours. So that already makes a huge difference, that to that. And then I'm going to go straight to brightness to bring it out even more. And for this, because I want the blues and the greens to be highlighted, I'm going to go straight to Mayfair, because it just gives it a warmth of the sun. I will also have a look at Rise. I think that sort of bleaches it out a bit too much, but if I add the saturation, it will bring it up to something a bit more akin to the Mayfair filter, but not quite as strong. So sharpening, go back to the saturation, I want that blue even more. Go to brightness, because there's a lovely little bit of seaweed here, which I don't want to be forgotten. Now I'm going to go to structure, being a texture picture, bringing that out. I want to soften it a bit, so I go to shadows and then vignette. It's always quite nice having a tap on the image to see what it was before and what you've made it afterwards. There. And again, I'll go to publish that. So basically, when you're editing pictures which are texture heavy, I would say definitely play with the structure and the Lux. They're my go-to tools for that type of editing. But I also would always play with brightness, sharpen, vignette and shadows. That's about it really, and to be honest, editing is all about playing, but this is how I use my Instagram palette, and it's more about editing to the image rather than giving you a recipe. I hope that's helpful, and I'll do some more editing tutorials soon. Thank you.